Excellent.
All right. Now we're live. Welcome to the Superlative Podcast. I am Edward Bushi. One guest, no edits, no post production. Just a sharp live conversation about what it really takes to reach the higher levels and what comes next. So let's get into it. Jonathan, what really struck me from our call was you told people to stop working the room at 1,000 person conference, just talk to 4 or 5 people and make a human connection. Because the ones sprinting hall to hall don't even remember their morning meetings by midday. So there's a lot of conversation that I really want to wrap around building connection and finding opportunity around that. But before we get into your story, I want to say a really big thank you for joining this podcast, talking about yourself and what you do at Z2 Value Creation. Um, would you like to start off giving 2 sentences about what you're doing?
Sure. So thanks, first of all, for reaching out and for having me on the show. I'm excited to participate in an up and coming tech podcast. Um, so Z2 was founded in 2018 with the goal of providing venture capital funds, and eventually it branched out into portfolio companies as well, providing them with research and strategy and business development and marketing and network access. We've been doing it for about 8 years. We've been working with some of the leading funds based out of the US and in Tel Aviv in Israel.
Mm,
Working the corridor both ways, investors and tech companies both ways, partnerships, cooperations, and different activity. So I'm happy to get started.
yeah, well, glad to have you on board. So I'd love to, get a sense of your backstory, your before you got into investing. Were you a entrepreneur before this? Did you always start in did you get your start in investing, and so to speak?
My family, first of all, I think you're the people you're most affected by when you're very, very young is first of all your family. And so, grandfathers on both sides, and my father, entrepreneurs and business owners and business leaders. So I always had the opportunity, to go with my grandfather to synagogue and see the
Hmm.
way he would talk to people, and see my father going into the office and the way people would interact with him. And so it always seemed natural to me that one day I would have my own firm, and one day I would have my own operation, and would be doing something that would be best suited to my skill set. So I think that's really where it started out. And, as a kid being asked what you want to do, it was either play second base for the Yankees or go work with family member and learn and develop.
Hmm.
And so that always seemed very, very interesting to me.
Yeah. So yeah, that sounds like a really good, interesting start. That's really cool that you got your family members to really show you these principles of really making connection with people in the very beginning, right? So
Hmm.
I'd love to understand a little bit more. You built Z2 as a value creation firm, right? That sits
Hmm.
alongside VC funds and their portfolio companies.
Right.
So, what did you see broken in how funds actually help their companies that made you want to start it? Because it's a very interesting niche. It's not. It's like within a VC fund, and it's like the in between. Like, why did you think that in between? What did you see that needed that operator inside?
I think I've always tried to take several perspectives on the matter and try to tackle things in a few ways. I was born and raised in Manhattan, but the first language I was taught was Hebrew.
Hmm.
I moved to Tel Aviv right before my 13th birthday, and sort of felt, as a New Yorker in Tel Aviv, trying to figure out what that means. Um, so I think Z2, in a way, you're right. It is an operator in one sense, and an investment committee in another sense. And that's always something that interests me. Offering a more inclusive and multidisciplinary solution rather than something off the shelf. This is marketing or this is strategy. And I think overall it's proven itself. And a lot of our clients have been working with us for many years. They could have, in-house already created departments to handle a lot of this work.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate enough to have those relationships still being successful for us.
Okay. Yeah. So that's really interesting. Like another thing that you mentioned also in our call, right? Was that in your LinkedIn, you got a pretty good following, right? You have 15,000 people on LinkedIn, but you say your post can reliably reach 100 people, but that's not a lot unless you boost it. Has that taught you anything about how real influence, how it actually works, and where it actually lives?
I think the last 10 years really showed us that, followers just for the sake of followers doesn't really mean anything. And we've
Yeah.
really seen the market there shift from follower count to engagement, to really being able to create worthwhile content and have worthwhile people engage around that content. So I think that's where it really is. I was giving an example of really LinkedIn throttling reach,
Mm.
and with over 15,000 connections and followers, having posts throttled 300 people, continuously seeing that little ad for boost now to reach 20, 30, whatever 40,000 people they put up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting. So having just a follower count for the sake of a follower count doesn't mean much to me.
Hmm.
Having engaged, intelligent people, finding what I put out there useful and interesting and valuable, I think that's much more interesting to me. A trend I read about in the Wall Street Journal this morning is a trend towards micro influencers, people with under 500 followers on TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn. Brands are reaching out to them now because at the end you don't really need to convert the entire world. A small population of somebody with 400 followers, consistently connecting with the brand, connecting with the values, and connecting with their own followers in a genuine way. I think that's really what's going to sell rather than some influencer with 100 million people broadcasting to the world. So I think it's going very. I think the technology is making it easier for everyone to put their voice out there, but I
Mm.
think people with unique human personal touch are really the ones that are going to be able to keep it going in the long term. I think sooner or later we're all going to get fed up with AI slop.
Yeah, for sure. I know in the social media space there are new concepts. I've always heard of influencers and then micro influencers, but there's also nano influencers that
Yep, exactly.
I'm learning, like where you can have, I don't know, under 500 followers, but the
Hmm.
connections are really well managed,
Right.
right? I'm like, wow, that's great. So, uh, from I'd love your perspective on this because uh, I come from a practice also where, as I got into doing podcasting, as I got into doing outreach and stuff like that, the practice that's very prevalent is it's a numbers game, and if you get, and usually you can reliably get 1%, so make that base number a lot. Make it 1,000 people, make it 10,000 people, right? And start from there, right? So
Mhm.
it all that way of thinking goes against, I guess, what you're proposing as a principle. Uh, I'd like to know where, if I don't know if it's correct or not, going mass or going really targeted. But why do you think there's a impulse for people in business to go this way, right? And
I
do it
think
really
it's
badly.
I think it first of all very much depends on where you are in your career, or where the company is in its maturity.
Mm,
Obviously, for a company like Facebook or Apple, I don't see the CEO of Apple having to call 100 people. I don't see the CEO of Facebook being forced to call 100 people. I
mm,
think, five worthy phone calls of each from each of them is basically all that the job will ever require.
mm,
So I do believe in 100 coffees or 100 sandwiches when you're starting out, when you're trying to figure out what you want to study, uh,
mm,
going to college, or when you're just starting your first business or even second business, trying to figure out where the market is, what different contacts are doing, how they're looking at it, how they're dealing with the challenges. I think that's fine. Having spreading a wide net and getting a wide range of personalities to give you their point of view. Um,
interesting.
but once you know who you are, once you know what you want to be selling, once you know your unique selling proposition, once you know your ideal client profiles, I don't think you need more than a handful of good relationships. That's at least
Oh,
how I viewed it. I think one of the things you and I discussed is, when you go out to one of these huge global tech conferences, and then the urge is to speak to everyone in the room. And then I told you, one thing I always make a point of is to fight that urge and
yeah.
to have a few meaningful conversations, really understand people. Sometimes you meet them by the coffee table, and then you go grab, something and walk around a dynamic conversation where you really connect at the end is much more worthwhile and more helpful to me
Mm.
than having 100 checklists of pitches that I prepared, and 200 business cards that I collected that I don't remember exactly what they said and what I said back.
And how you can like think about them in an opportunity. But okay, so if I may reflect back to you to just
So
confirm, right?
to me, just to sum up, to me with
Yeah,
Z2, it was always quality over quantity. I
yeah,
never wanted to be the firm that could address 100 different VCs. I'd always rather keep it very personable, a very small team on each project. We know each other's capabilities, and we know what each one can deliver.
mm,
We have a very strong bench of professionals that we work with as well. And so you could really tailor make each project and each proposal and each relationship, and it doesn't get out of hand, and you maintain that quality, and then you can persist and succeed for years to come.
that is really interesting. You know what? That's poignant about this kind of principle, right? Is that it can apply to outside of I guess entrepreneurship or products, right? Like
Hmm.
one thing, if you're comfortable with it, would you? Sorry, let me recap this because it's very interesting. You actually taught this principle to a young race car driver in Israel who wants to break into IndyCar, right? And you were talking about he needs to raise a fund and build his persona and brand and his following, right? The principle is almost the same, right? Do you want to talk about that?
First of all, sure. It's a young man I met at a tech conference here in Israel. He was all decked out at an Ernest and Young event
Yeah,
in Mercedes Formula One gear.
yeah,
And I noticed him, moving from one player in the room to another, very methodically, and eventually we began to chat.
mm,
And he was looking for a tech unicorn come and sponsor his IndyCar, and he had an amazing life story, and we've been close ever since. His name is Liav David, and I'm happy for him to come on the show in the
oh
future as
yeah, would
well.
love to have him. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had. I've always wanted to chat with like sports personalities, right? So would love to have him on the show.
I think there are many, sports analogies that work in business, and many business analogies that work well in sports.
Yeah, yeah,
It's being the best professional you can be and using what you have to your advantage,
yeah,
and just outplaying your opponent for the win.
yeah. And talking about sports analogies, I had a California VC just a while ago, and Peter Hers. Yeah, so he was chatting about in baseball, just like investing in baseball. Uh, in the beginning, before the Moneyball concept came in, people were just talking about the metric that you're really going after to make a really good game and win is how many hits your batter is making, right? And
Hmm.
maximizing that and optimizing that, right? And the thing is, that was the wrong metric to look at, right? And all games were all players or all coaches were optimizing for the wrong metric. The real metric was the metric that was not very sexy, right? The ugliest looking metric that you'd always overlook. It was average time or average number to base. How often can you go to base? It's not necessarily
Hmm.
hitting the ball, but how often can you reach that first base?
On base percentage.
Yeah, there you go. On base percentage. There you go. So I'm wondering also when in the just we're just transitioning from theoretical to practical, right? And
Hmm.
application. What metric do you think people get wrong or overthink when they're networking and trying to build relationships? I know I appreciate the concept where throw a wide net, get a sense of the people and who you and your product is, right?
Hmm.
But once you want to go deeper, you got to make deeper relationships. So like,
100%.
yeah. So you got to
Eventually,
change. Yes.
enterprise relationships take months to mature, and
Yeah.
working with enterprises and large investors can oftentimes be similar in the sense that it does
Mm.
take a long time, and there are many principals at each firm that needs to make the decision and opt in.
Yeah.
So I think there are many similarities there.
Yeah. So are there going by the metric of um, using RPI as and looking for the real metric? Is there something? Is there a, people? Is there a metric that people overlook when they approach trying to build a relationship, a deeper one with
To
with
me,
your
at
clients?
least, the potential to expand the relationship and leverage the profitability of the account, it directly ties to the quality of the work that you do and the quality of the relationship that you're able to maintain with each client.
Mm.
The cost of bringing in a new client is much higher than the cost of keeping one completely happy.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, once you land one, the hill of taking care of them
It
is
takes
and maintaining them
longer
is good.
to begin a relationship and onboard, and once that's done, the potential is limitless.
Yeah.
Whereas,
That's really interesting because now you're saying really once you get a contact, really fight to not fight but like maintain that. Really
again,
take
Edward,
the
it really
discipline.
depends on
Yeah.
the kind of operation you're running, and if I were to sell insurance,
Mm.
maybe this is the wrong system to be going by.
Yeah.
But to me, in order to provide our clients with the most value, the investors we represent with the best deal flow, to be able to work, on both sides of the Atlantic. This is what worked for me. Um, I think if you just want to make money, it's easy just to make money. But if you want to have a great reputation to make money,
Mm.
it's quite a challenge. And I'm up for the challenge.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So I want to like delve a little bit into what you're doing at Z2. So like um, you're how is what your would you be able to like discuss how your principles are in play with how you help companies like you like what common mistakes are you noticing with the companies that you take care of and you help with your principles?
So first of all, we get to work really with some of the greatest tech founders and the most innovative investors. So I'm really glad that this is the life I've chosen, and this is what my day to day looks like. The challenges are dynamic because a VC, a fund, a family office, not a family office, a venture fund is always doing two things. It's raising capital and
Yeah.
deploying capital. So there's always that duality and always that struggle between, raising fund, the next fund, as you're still deploying funds from the previous fund, and trying to prove the thesis based on previous investments. So it's always dynamic. It's always changing. You can make a plan that's great for this evening, and then tomorrow morning, um, you know, Trump decides to ban Fable 5, or the Straits of Hormuz are closed and flights are canceled. So a plan is great until it meets reality, and
Hmm.
then you have to adjust. I had the opportunity to serve in the Israeli Defense Forces in an intelligence unit for 3 years. I still run Z2 in many ways with an intelligence brief first thing in the morning. So there are many things that I still keep, and throughout my career, I always tried to figure out wherever I was, what they do well, what they do not so well,
Mm.
and why they insist on continuing doing it not so well. Because that's where the real innovation is, and that's really where you can look at a huge organization that could be the most efficient and still find ways to optimize and find ways to improve and innovate.
So how do you and your firm think about like innovation? Do you have a thesis that you're standing by? Is there a vision of the future that you guys are or rather revolving or resonating around?
For us personally, yes, we do have 12 guiding principles. It should be up on our website, z2vc.com, for anybody interested. For us, it has to be, first of all, based on research with any client, even before we begin the relationship formally. There's a proper due diligence and deep research done. There's a vetting process, an onboarding process, and then really finding, their unique voice, their unique thesis, their unique perspective, why that's right for them now, and if things change in a week, why
Mm.
that's still adaptable enough to be relevant as the world progresses and rushes forward into this new and exciting age of AI and deep tech.
Oh, deep tech. All right. So like you're basically working with like universities at and founders out coming out of universities. It sounds like that.
We have a wonderful relationship with Nucleate, which is biology and advanced degree collegial organization at Stanford, MIT, Harvard, Cambridge, Princeton, a few universities based out of Israel as well and around the world. There's the alumni organization of my intelligence unit
Mm.
that involved with as well, and a lot of young people coming out of there. And I always felt that if you respect the people, ahead of you, climbing the ladder of success, if you respect the people ahead of you and try to help the people behind you, you'll be in a pretty good place.
Hmm.
So it is interesting to meet different students and different people in advanced degrees
Yeah.
and see sort of, their perspective on the world and the solutions they want to be involved with over the next 5, 10, 15 years. I think it's fascinating, really. And I think surrounding yourself with young minds that are still, quote unquote, uncorrupt by everything, the way the world works, really. They still have their own ideas, and I think it's fascinating. I think that's where a lot of the innovation really is. A 3x founder, a 2x founder is always interesting, and they'll usually have an easier time to raise funds.
Mm.
But a lot of times it is these first time founders that come out of left field with some sort of solution that nobody really considered until they really did it for the first time.
Yeah, yeah. There's no there is a book by one of the founders of A16Z, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, but Ben Horowitz.
Mhm.
He was talking about there's no school to teach you being a CEO unless you are one in a company and founding it. So yeah, you get your chops by actually doing the task.
100%. One of the most
Yeah.
important things in entrepreneurship is after you've done the research,
Mm,
after you've done the thinking, is to actually go out and now go do that.
mm, yeah. Totally.
Be
Totally.
the brain of the operation, be the face of the operation, be the mouth of the operation, be the
Mm,
hands and legs of the operation. That's where real entrepreneurship lies. And I think venture capital investors have a lot of entrepreneurship to them. I
yeah.
think tech founders have a lot of entrepreneurship to them. And so I can relate and connect and find a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So, would like, you know, since you mentioned your like founders and being like 2 or 3x founders, when you say 2 or 3x, you mean like the founders for the
If they're a
second or
third
third time?
company, you're right.
Okay, gotcha,
They
gotcha,
founded 2 or 3 companies in the past.
gotcha. So, are there any companies that you want to take the time to highlight in today's podcast, like that really
Um,
like fit? Yeah.
a lot of the firms we work with are on our website and LinkedIn, and I wouldn't want to mention anybody
Oh, okay.
specifically here. And I'm glad to represent Z2
Hmm.
and myself.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and no worries. So yeah, one of the things that I'm doing some research on Z2 is you do a full stack value creation firm, right?
Hmm.
And where you do strategy, business, and technology support for funds and their companies.
Hmm.
Uh, what's the piece of value creation that funds consistently underrate? And this could go back to the metric that um, or the baseball metric that people oversee.
Sure, 100%, the on-base percentage.
Yeah, the on base percentage.
Um, so I think a lot of times there's a thought, definitely in the first time fund, but sometimes in a second time fund and what have you, where they're uh, not raising at the moment, but they'll be raising in 12 months, and
Okay,
uh, and they don't
interesting.
feel at that moment that they need to be doing everything that needs to be done to begin the raising process. When they decide they're going to be raising, they'll start the fundraising process, and until then, not much needs to be done.
Mm,
Our way of thinking is obviously that to build relationships, to build brand recognition, to get your voice out there, to connect with LPs, to connect with other portfolio companies, to connect with other VCs. It takes time. You need several points, data points, and touch points. It's not enough that they see your name once or twice in the New York Times or Wall Street Journal. It's not enough that they see it once or twice on TikTok. It's not enough that they see it once or twice on LinkedIn. Over time, they need to see it here and there, with something interesting attached to it, discussing something interesting, mentioning something that could be of value, and
interesting.
creating the relationship, not just trying to jam it down people's throats once they really need to start raising capital. Rather, creating those relationships, nurturing relationships, having serious, truthful conversations about where this would be going, where
Mm,
where they would like to be building, where they'd like to be expanding, and so that when you do pick up that phone and do say, we're raising Fund 3, they know exactly what your thesis is, and they have 2 other LPs just waiting, ready to hop on a call with you because they've heard the great news about you already. So that's something that works for us. That's something that works from my experience. But again, something that worked for me. There's a lot of survivor bias in this business.
yeah.
Just because something worked for Warren Buffett doesn't mean it'll work for me. And
Yeah,
just because something worked for me doesn't mean it'll work for the next firm over.
gotcha.
It has to be natural and part of who you are and how you really want to operate and what you want to be known for and be part of.
One of the what this reminds me of, the problem of having to keep contacts on. You remind me of the last podcast I had with another ex salesman, or rather, salesman become consultant. His name is Brian Crew, and he talked about the not a lot of companies deal with or seriously consider the feast or famine concept, right? Where you get all these clients right away, but you're not doing any work because to get more because you're focused on the current clients' projects, right?
Hmm.
And then and then there's a famine time where there's a lead time where you have to get new contacts and then do a business. So this is very interesting. The feast or famine concept seems to work even at a VC level, right?
Hmm.
Uh, like just paint a picture of how that looks like. Like what does it mean for a VC fund to keep on uh, making contacts? Is it like is it daily calls? It sounds like, do they meet with their LPs every month or every week, or is it just like you share newsletters with your LPs, you share posts? It's a variety of media, right? And then sprinkled with some meetings. But I'm just thinking of the brass tacks here. But what's the principle and how is it applied?
So I think it really depends on the LPs and on the fund. First of all,
Yeah,
a mature Fund 7 working with governments and pension funds as their LPs maybe won't have weekly conversations and monthly updates. It might
oh,
be a quarterly report, and that's a macro level that they're interested in. Whereas you could have a solo GP running, a $20 million micro fund,
yeah.
and then, they do have coffee once a week with each one of their 10 LPs.
Hmm.
And the LPs do want to be directly involved with some of the portfolio companies because that's something they're personally passionate about. So again, I don't think there's any cookie cutter rule in any way that 100% works versus 0% the other way.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that black and white. I think it really depends on the GP and on the LPs. Maybe something like deep tech, where the updates would be, every quarter versus an AI agent where you want to be updated,
Yeah.
every close of day. So there are different aspects, and it has a lot to do with the maturity of the companies and the relationships necessary to keep operating those funds.
That's very interesting because you talked about casting white net in the beginning, and
Hmm.
then making bigger relationships, and then you're even in the abstract, right? Even in the abstract, as you go along in your journey, the amount of people that you're chatting with, like sounds like even narrows because the relationships are deeper. But also not only the number of people, but the time frame of the people that you contact, right? It could
I
change the
think
bigger you are.
I think you're right. I think the smartest, most successful people I know do one or two, three things really, really well, and then keep themselves occupied with those three things.
Hmm.
Steven Spielberg is an amazing director, but I haven't read any books that he's recently published or recipes that he's put out there.
Hmm.
So, really focus on your strengths, really stay focused, narrow, and keep it in that flywheel of things you can be a value for, known to really be helpful with.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Um, that's what's worked for me.
Gotcha. So what one thing I maybe like tie it back to like what we're experiencing right now. We have these principles where you're even in the abstract you're building relationships with people. Um, and then here's this new tool, right? That could upend that. It could even supercharge um, destroying relationships or supercharge increasing in the value in it. I'm talking about AI here, right?
Hmm.
So what is there? I know it's really recent, but have you seen um, AI be used in a way that really speaks to the principles that you're chatting about really well? Are there ways that you've seen founders or maybe even VCs um, use AI in the wrong ways that would love to be enlightened on that, like from what you've seen in your experience?
I was at a VC event last week, and one of the GPs on the panel
Mm,
looked out at the audience and said, "Founders, please stop sending me Claude decks. It's obvious, and I don't need any more decks created just by Claude." So I think, as we said earlier, I think AI and technology and the tools out there allow us to put out a lot more content if we want. I
mm,
think they allow us to put out more quality content if we want. So it really depends on what we're saying earlier. Are you broadcasting a general message, to the entire internet? Or are you trying to narrowly, specifically say to your key audience, this is what I think, this is what I think it means, and this is what I think is going to happen moving forward.
hmm.
I think the tools are out there, and it's up to us. If you're a founder and you're happy to create an AI generated video and put that on your site or on your digital assets, and it works and it gets a message out there, I think that's great for very early stage startups or very young founders. But as the market matures and as everything matures, I think your audience is going to look for something a bit more sophisticated, something more intelligent, something that speaks more directly to them.
Hmm.
So it really depends on who you are and what you want to be associated with. I think good taste can be recognized even if you don't spend, $215 million on an ad campaign.
Would you say that if the just to hone the concept a little bit more, would you say that as long as the content made by AI is targeted and really well thought of, um, um, you can like send it weekly, even daily? Like would timing, would it pass the spam filter of people's brains?
I think it really depends. It depends on the quality. It depends on the quantity. I think those are two key factors. So if AI can churn it out, I mean, if you have a production team working on it, 12 hour shifts around the clock, perhaps you can, put out quality content on a daily basis.
Mm,
If with today the way things are, if that's a requirement, I don't think so. I think for some brands once a week is enough, and for some brands 3 times a week is enough.
yeah.
But unless you're some media outlet, the New York Times or Washington Post or someone, nobody's expecting you to update every 15 minutes. Uh,
Unless you're like the terminal, the Bloomberg terminal or something like that.
Yeah, you're not the Bloomberg terminal and you're not Twitter. Nobody's expecting you to be on feed 24/7 creating content. And I also don't think anybody's sitting out there on their MacBook or iPhone yearning for more spam and yearning for more bad content
Yeah,
and yearning for more irrelevant information.
yeah, yeah. So one thing, talking about content. Last time we chatted, you were talking about like podcasts are saturated and they're like slowly fading in relevance. I'd love to learn from that. What are you seeing? Because I'd love to improve this podcast and have more guests over and have more deeper conversations. I really like value the things I'm learning from the folks that I have, but I want it to be good for people to and interesting for people to watch.
Obviously it's pretty funny and ironic to be discussing the death of podcasts on a podcast. Um, but yeah, as I'm saying, I think we're all oversaturated with a lot of content.
Mm,
I think many channels are curating excellent content, and I don't know how many people are still seeking out, another full length podcast to add into their repertoire.
mm,
I do think, of course, there is always a space, an important space in our society and culture for long form thinking, for long form debate, for long form discussions.
yeah.
But for me, I don't think I get to really experience more than one or two or three good podcasts a week.
Mm,
There are just so many out there. A lot of good VCs, a lot of smart investors, a lot of smart founders. And at the end, we only have about 18 hours a day where we're awake. Um, so you really have to bide your time between family and sports and working out and walking your dog
yeah,
and
yeah.
seeing the sunset over the Mediterranean.
Yeah, I've noticed the lighting change on your
Yeah.
side. That's really cool. So what you're I'm piecing it all together, right? If you're a podcaster, right, it sounds like, or making content, even or making a company. Yes, there's other companies out there, and other their customers are serving them, right? So it means to me, my if I were to develop this further, my differentiation has to be even like honed out even more, so that I can develop them with my audience as I grow it.
Hmm.
I need to uh, define my audience even more, and then build content to that. And this new defined audience might be very unique, that other audiences don't have podcasts to yet. So I'm really appreciating the concepts that you're sharing here, and I even see it applies to like what we're building at Senmax, the company
Hmm.
that I'm co-founding. So I wanna leave it at that. I want to say, this has been a really fantastic conversation. I really appreciate the insights, and appreciate that you're even sharing them, right, and being frank about them. I love that. If there's a way for folks to contact you besides the website, are there any ways that you can recommend people reach out to you and the firm?
Sure. The LinkedIn works great as well, and the information, email, etc., is on the website and on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. All
Thanks
right.
so much for having me, Edward. I really wish you the best of luck. Happy to come on again in the future.
Yeah, totally.
And looking forward to seeing this all over the internet.
Let's do it. I'm happy to build this out, and I really like love that you're teaching me new ways of even growing it. So, yeah, thank you so much for that, and guys, for you joining.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. Right, we're gonna end the stream here.
All the best.